Right, nice. Ooh, I can't even speak. Nice bit of Sunday afternoon scraft for you here. Disco Bloodbath. This is Biggels, who I think is Benji, and Matticus, I'm pretty sure is Matt Honey. So, Matticus, the Terran on the left of the map. Biggels, the Terran on the right. Let's get some numbers up and all of that sort of good stuff. And we'll see what these two get up to. So, pretty standard looking openings here. Supply depots coming down. You know, playing against the Terran, I'm not too worried about trying to wall off a ramp. I mean, arguably, you might deny an SCV scout, you might deny a Hellion run by or something, but you know, most of the time, if a fellow Terran wants to scout your base, they're always going to be able to get a Reaper in there or drop a scan or whatever. And drops tend to be the first sort of aggression that you're going to meet, other than a big frontal push. So yeah, having a wall off, it's not like you're playing Zerg and they're going to ling rush you. And it's not like you're playing against the Protoss where there's a reasonable chance they'll try and get adepts into the back of your mineral line or something. So not too worried about having a wall, but you've got to build your buildings somewhere. So, you know, there's no harm in doing it at the front either. Either way around, both of these players building barracks, but double gas for Matticus. So I don't know whether that is because he's got something sneaky in mind. I noticed this is a pretty early engineering bay. It looks like he sort of started that and then cancelled it or something. Anyway, it's a very early engineering bay, so I wonder if he's just planning maybe a 1-1 is a pretty common thing to do, where you just kind of get really quick upgrades, and you do need some gas for those. Double gas, though, seems a little unnecessary, especially if you're not actually going to transfer workers to them. This is interesting, though. The barracks here as a choice of place to build it. I don't know, man. I mean, you'd have to assume that your opponent's going to see it, and Matticus does see it. And this Marine's just going to come out and pick off the SCV. The SCV can't, you know, if we look, he doesn't get to see up the ramp. So I don't know, if you're going to try and proxy that, you know, somewhere over here where it's out of vision range from stuff up here would have been a more sensible option. Yeah, now with the barracks finished up, I'd expect to see orbital commands coming down for both of these players, but neither of them has opted for that upgrade just yet. Biggels, still no gas for Biggels, so he has got the eBay. Isn't going to be able to do much with that because these upgrades, as you can see, cost a bit of gas. The other thing that eBay does allow you to do, though, it does allow you to build turrets, and they don't cost gas. So I don't know, maybe he's planning to build a turret just in the mineral line or something. Again, against Terran, less of a thing, to be honest. You know, against Protoss, turret in the mineral line, definitely, because you're going to expect an Oracle maybe to fly in and have a bit of a poke at your workers. You know, sometimes you might get DTs coming in and you want that detection. Against a fellow Terran, I mean, arguably you could get a Liberator or something like that turn up. Wouldn't be so much a turret in the mineral line, you'd want it behind the mineral line because the Liberators have got quite a long range in Liberation mode. But yeah, less of a thing. It's kind of more straightforward for the Liberator to find an angle out of range of the turret. Anyway, I don't know what the eBays are for both of these players with eBays. Matticus has started this +1 attack, and we can see another barracks coming down for him. This is the reactor, which is going to allow him to build Marines 2 at a time from this current barracks. And as we can see, he's pushing out onto the map with a small group of Marines. Now, if you are going to push out with Marines, you know, I'd still strongly recommend, even if you're going for a very early push, having at least one barracks with a tech lab. There it is, so that you can get combat shield at the very least. Because it just makes a really big difference. These Marines are just going to die. You know, Biggels has got more Marines, so it's just a numbers game. I don't really know what's happening here with the dancing about. So these Marines don't really get anything done. They are outnumbered, so they will not trade particularly efficiently. So triple racks for Benji, and the factory coming down. So factory actually building for both players. So it looks like we're going to get into the mid game here with maybe a bit of a variety of units before we're going to see anything too much happening. Matticus has got the Expo up and mining, and Biggels doesn't. And you know, we are sort of approaching the 5-minute mark, so you really do need to get that expo up. The only circumstances under which you wouldn't expand once your main base is fully saturated is really if you're planning some sort of horrific one base all-in. One base all-ins are generally pretty hard to make work. If you are going to do a one base all-in, you've got to hit so early. You've got to make sure, you know, what you're trying to do with a one base all-in is abuse the idea that your opponent will have spent 400 on an expand and some additional resources on workers, and that will mean that they don't have as many units as you. So you're trying to hit that timing shortly after they've committed to the expand, which in general is pretty early. You know, we're talking, you know, how long does it take you to saturate your main? It's only a couple of minutes. So in general, most players are expanding somewhere between 3 and 4 minutes would be a pretty standard expo time, wouldn't it? So this looks pretty defensive from Matticus with the bunker at the top of the ramp and a handful of marauders. It would take a reasonably chunky force to push up this ramp into it, and Benji doesn't yet have the sort of numbers that would be required, although that is a significant amount of marine, but that they do lack combat shield, and they don't have stim either, and in the absence of medevac support as well, these marines aren't that tough. So these marauders here and the fact that there's a bunker here would definitely see that lot off without really taking any damage. It does look like Benji is considering expoing here. You know, I'd much prefer here first. I don't really see a big advantage in expoing on the map when you don't have to. Possibly a ninja over here, I wouldn't mind. You know, there's always something to be said for having a sneaky base. Production tab looking pretty healthy here for both players. Both of them are busy doing stuff. We've got cloaking coming down for Benji from the Ghost Academy, so I'd love to see a nuke. I honestly think we don't see enough nukes in StarCraft. So Biggels does indeed expo in this position. As I say, I just don't know about it. It's just harder to defend. You know, why? There isn't really an advantage to it. It's just as easy to find as an expo in your natural. So why do it? Yes, Planetary Fortress in the main. I think I mentioned this in the last game that I casted between Ollie and some other people, and you know, you shouldn't really be building a planetary in your main. You don't really need to. If you can't defend the insides of your own main, then you're in trouble, really. You know, that tends to be where your production is. It tends to be where all your stuff is. You should be able to defend your main base without the need for a planetary. This Rax is going to fly over here, and finally we're going to see the tech lab. Of course, he's got the Ghost Academy, but you can't actually build ghosts without a tech lab, so maybe that's the purpose of that, rather than any upgrades. The nuke is being produced, but is he going to have time to get it out? There is a whole army outside his base. If we look at the army supply tab, Matticus, you know, with the earlier expand, definitely has the advantage. A siege tank on the high ground here can be devastating, but he needs this to be in siege mode. And no, don't run out to meet this. I'm not sure why you would do that. It looks like it's going to be close, but I don't think it will be. These marauders with the 1-1 just aren't going to die. You know, to be fair, Benji also has got the 1-1, but marauders just are much tankier than Marines. They're just hard as nails, aren't they? So had the siege tank on the high ground been in siege mode, that might have been a different battle, because, you know, the range it has, the splash damage it does, you can just see how much damage it's doing, even since it has been sieged up. So, you know, ultimately that can put a lot of hurt on here. It's a shame he had it right at the edge, within range of these things, you know, a little bit further back, somewhere about there, and that siege tank pretty much could have just hammered away, because you know, if we look for the vision range of Matticus, doesn't really extend that far up. So it does look like he needs to pull it back. It's going to die as well. Needs to get that sieged up in a nice safe position, and SCV's repairing it and such. It's a shame we are not going to see the nuke. Although, is he building a ghost? He is. When this ghost comes out, I can't quite remember, you know, does a ghost come out with enough energy to cloak? I'm not sure, but it does look like the Ghost Academy is going to fall long before it's able to launch the nuke anyway. So this Ghost here, yeah, they've got loads of energy for gloating. What am I talking about? This Ghost is not going to be able to save the day. This is where all of this stuff's going to die to the planetary or something, and I'll have to eat my words. I don't think that will be the case. Maybe if Benji were to get the workers repairing this, it might hold this, but your production's in a shambles. You've lost an awful lot of workers. Yeah, even if you defend it, oh my goodness, and the blink in with the battlecruiser as well, just to add insult to injury. So turns this from a win into a fairly comprehensive beating here. Actually, this Ghost is working away on this siege tank, but sooner or later he will run out of energy, but will no longer be cloaked and will get shot. So it is all over. I am not just waiting for the GG. I hadn't even noticed that he was building battlecruisers. Battlecruisers is very popular in the sort of Terran game at the minute, but mostly because they're broken. You can just blink them into anywhere on the map. It takes an awful long time to kill them, so you can just blink in and just focus on workers whilst taking damage, and just gradually work your way out of the base, fly home, get patched up and do it all over again. Anywho, GG.